Part 14. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Ching Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 131. The old policeman said, "Don't worry, as long as we find out that they have really committed a crime, we will deal with them according to the law. I have evidence." Jiao Sun opened the recorded video. What they did, said, and did was recorded. I can send it to the police officer's cell phone as evidence. Also, those 2 barrels of potion, it can also be used as evidence. The old policeman nodded and immediately gave Zhang Yushan and Zhang Cai a handcuff each, and asked the young policeman to take all the potions into the police car, intending to take them back to the police station for identification. Zhang Yushan looked at the handcuffs in his hands and looked at Jiao Sun with a sinister look on his face. "You'd better not pursue this matter. The most I want is to destroy your tree. It's not murder and arson. Even if it's, the sentence won't last long. When I come out, your whole family will have a hard time." Zhang Shenke was handcuffed for the first time, and he panicked. When he heard what Zhang Yushan said, he also threatened, "Yes, you'd better let us go quickly, otherwise we will never let you have an easy time when we come out." The old policeman said angrily, "You actually dare to threaten people in front of us, you will be punished with an additional penalty." Zhang Yushan and Zhang Shenke didn't take the old policeman's words seriously at all. Anyway, they didn't kill anyone or set fire to anything. No matter how much the crime was increased, they would be released soon. Jiao Sun said slowly, "Did you really only do one bad thing, destroying my tree? The police are here today. Why don't you tell me all the bad things you have done in your life? It must be something like breaking the law." Zhang Yushan looked at Jiao Sun as if she were a fool, and wanted to ridicule her when he opened his mouth, but when the words came to his lips, he could not control his mouth. "What bad thing can I do? Even if I do it, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just that my daughter-in-law didn't give birth to a son and she talked back to me, so I slapped her. Unexpectedly, she resisted, so I beat her to death with my wife and buried her in the ancestral grave of my family. To the outside world, it was said that my daughter-in-law disliked my family's poverty and ran away with a rich man. This made my granddaughter hate her mother, and her mother would not be able to live in peace even if she died. I met the woman Zhang Fugui kidnapped and trafficked her back once, so I asked Zhang Fugui to let me use it first. To be honest, the taste of those college students is indeed much better than that of my wife. When I was young, I went to work in the city. I stole a lot of steel bars from the construction site and sold them, and I made a lot of money. When I was working in the city, I met a girl. I saw her beauty, so I bullied her. Worried that she would call the police, I robbed her family of all their money and burned her house down. Later I heard that I was also burned to death." Zhang Yushan said more than 10 sentences in a row, and everyone present was stunned. Is that human being? According to what he said, he simply committed murder and arson, and committed all kinds of evil. He actually killed Zhang Yushan's daughter-in-law. After his daughter-in-law disappeared, he kept ruining her reputation outside, saying that her daughter-in-law despised his son for being incompetent, that he was a playboy, that he disliked the poor and loved the rich, and followed the rich. People ran away. Yes, he also said that his daughter-in-law had an affair with many men before she entered the house, and it was not known whether the child she gave birth to was his son's son. It was their kindness that prevented them from disliking his granddaughter. I often hear his wife Huang Qinfang curse his daughter-in-law, saying that her daughter-in-law is a short-lived ghost, so they know that their daughter-in-law is dead, so they curse like that. I've heard it too, and I simply thought they were just cursing others and not wanting others to feel better. The whole family is so vicious, and his daughter-in-law is so miserable. I even talked to his daughter-in-law before. She is soft-spoken and a very gentle person. I said it was impossible for his daughter-in-law to do such a thing. It turned out that she was killed. It's so pitiful." Jiao Sun also passed the recorded video to the old policeman. Others present were also astonished. Is this Yushin a fool? Chiao Ningxun asked him to tell him what bad things he had done, and he actually said it. Zhang Shenke was also extremely surprised by what Zhang Yushin said just now. He did not expect that the people who worked with him were actually more vicious than him. Chang Yushin suddenly became excited and seemed to have come back to his senses. Thinking of what he had just said, he quickly explained, "What I said just now is all false. Don't believe it. It's all nonsense." After saying that, he pointed the finger at Jiao Ningxun. "What kind of ecstasy did you give me to make me talk nonsense?" Jiao Ningxun said calmly, "I have recorded everything you just said and sent it to the police uncle's mobile phone. Whether you are talking nonsense or not, the police uncles will know after investigating, especially the ancestral graves of your family." Zhang Yushin's face suddenly turned pale. At the end of the day, his crime is probably more serious than Zhang Fugui's. The crime of killing his daughter-in-law alone is enough for him to go to jail. Chiao Ningxun looked at Zhang Shenke, who was shaking nervously, "And you, tell me all the bad things you have done." Zhang Shenke snorted in his heart. He was not that stupid, but when he opened his mouth and tongue were not under his control. I will not tell you that the orchard at Lao Jiao's house was on fire before, and I also participated in the arson. I also bullied the people Zhang Fugui's daughter brought back, and finally sold them smoothly. I didn't kill my daughter-in-law. It's so difficult to marry a daughter-in-law now. I'm very good to my daughter-in-law, and I just want her to give birth to a big, fat boy to carry on the family line. My daughter-in-law is really useless. She gave birth to 3 granddaughters in a row, but it doesn't matter. When I took the 3 granddaughters to the river to play at once a few years ago, I pushed them all down and drowned them. When I went home, I told my family that the child ran to the river and drowned. Sure enough, my son and daughter-in-law did not doubt me. In order to get over the pain of losing my daughter as soon as possible, after my persuasion, the daughter-in-law got pregnant not long after and gave birth to a boy successfully. Now that I have grandchildren, I don't regret killing my 3 granddaughters. If they don't die, my grandson won't come." When the people present heard this, they immediately became very angry. The 3 granddaughters of Zhang Shenke's family have all grown up watching them. Each one of them is white, tender, pink and jade-like, and extremely cute. Including the village chief, many people in the village hugged them. They felt very sorry after they were drowned. The eldest is already 5 years old and will soon be of elementary school age, so he left just like that. Unexpectedly, they were actually killed by their own grandfather. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 132. The village chief was furious and said, "Zhang Shenke, you beast, you can even attack children, are you still not a human being?" Guan Yiwen said, "That's right, you don't like them from the beginning? Why not kill them when they are still in their infancy?" Zhang Shenke said, "Of course I couldn't bear to part with it at first. Later, when the children got older, I found that it cost more to raise children in this era than in our time. When I thought about my future grandson, I would be robbed by my 3 sisters. I was angry about the money that belonged to him, so I kept looking for an opportunity, and I finally found it that day." "You," Guan Yiwen said angrily, "you are really too much, you are not worthy of being a human being." Chiao Ningxun asked, "Besides this, what other bad things have you done?" Zhang Shenke said, "Others are just petty thefts, and there is one big one. When I was working at a construction site when I was young, I robbed a young couple of their gold jewelry on the road. There was no surveillance in that place, so there was no surveillance. No one knew that I did it. Later I heard that the 2 men were hit by a car and died at the same time because they were chasing me. Haha, so their relatives don't know why they died like that all these years, and no one came to me." Chiao Ningxun withdrew the magic and said coldly, "You and Zhang Yushin are simply the scum of Deguo village. Zhang Shenke trembled and quickly came to his senses. He quickly explained, "What I said just now is all false. I must have been controlled by someone using drugs. I definitely did not do those things." Qiao Ningxun sent the recorded video to the old policeman again. "If you have anything to say, go talk to the police." The young policeman made a call to the police station. After nodding, he hung up the phone. "Boss, someone in Daguo village called the police and said that 3 of his children were dead. But after a final investigation, there was no evidence. No, also, the robbery he mentioned was indeed happening. The place was under development at the time and there was no surveillance or anything like that, so the murderer was never found." The old policeman said solemnly, "What else do you have to say?" Zhang Shenke was anxious. He just thought about it for a long time and couldn't figure out how to explain it. He was so anxious that he broke out in sweat. The old policeman didn't want to continue talking nonsense with them, so he took them all into the police car. Their family members were also taken away to cooperate with the investigation. After the police car left, the village chief glanced at the onlookers and warned seriously, "In Daguo village, there will never be criminals again in the future. If I know who ruins the reputation of the village again, I will not let him stay in the village go down." Some people looked stern and immediately gave up their worries about Xiaojiju. After the 2 were taken away, Qiao Kongsheng came to the village chief. Thinking of the 2 people's revenge on their family, he asked worriedly, "Village chief, those 2 have done so many wrong things. They should not do it again, are you back?" The village chief nodded, "Don't worry, if someone is killed, they will most likely be sentenced to death and will have no chance to come back." Qiao Kongsheng suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Qiao Ningxun arranged her work, returned home, opened her laptop, and entered the secret forum. She took a look at her post and found that, sure enough, no one was seeking medical treatment. She closed the forum page and entered the dolphin video again. She was extremely satisfied when she saw the number of views of the first video. Luckily, the first video actually exceeded 10,000 views, and the number of views reached 100,000. There are some comments below. "I came here from the live broadcast. I thought this gourd was just a prop, but I didn't expect that there is a process of handling the gourd. It is actually real. I don't know if the anchor can sell such a big gourd. I like it very much. Yes, it would be good to use it as a prop for filming a TV series. It turns out that this gourd is real. I thought it was fake during the live broadcast. I saw that the anchor moved it back so easily. I don't know where this place is. I want to try my luck. If I find one as big as this, I will be famous, haha." Qiao Ningxun didn't read the comments below anymore, they were all about the same anyway. 5 days later, the village chief convened a meeting of village representatives and told the news about Zhang Yushan and Zhang Shenke. Everything they said in the fruit forest that day was found to be true after police investigation, and both of them were placed under criminal detention. Zhang Yushan's wife was also arrested by the police on suspicion of murdering her daughter-in-law. The police also found the body of his daughter-in-law in the ancestral grave of Zhang Yushan's family. They even saw marks of knife cuts on the bones. It can be imagined that the death was miserable. Finally, the village chief asked everyone in the village to keep quiet. After all, this was a family scandal and should not be made public. Most of the villagers also know this truth. There have been so many criminals in their village. If word spreads, it will definitely be difficult to find wives for the men in the village in the future. As for the fate of the Zhang family, Qiao Ningxun is not worried and trusts the country in everything. Later I heard that Zhang Fugui not only trafficked people, but also had human lives on his hands. After all, not all people who were trafficked were obedient, and many were accidentally beaten to death by him. Those who enter will never be able to come out again. What awaits them will eventually be the death penalty. As for the families of Zhang Yushan and Zhang Shenke, since they were imprisoned, people have come to make trouble at their door every day. They really had no choice but to pack up all their belongings and run away overnight in order to live a normal life. He watched his cousin log into Dolphin Video and saw the click income in the background. His face was full of surprise. Just from this video, the income in the past few days has actually reached several thousand yuan, which is enough for my living expenses for one semester. It's too exaggerated. Xiao Ningxun is not surprised at all. Now is Dolphin Video's initial stage. It is the time to invest in attracting anchors, so it is normal for the price to be high. Just a few years later, Dolphin Company felt that the investment was almost done and the number of anchors settled was almost the same. It would no longer provide benefits, and the price at that time would be much lower. Xiao Ningxun said, "Now you know why I want you to live broadcast, right? I can tell you responsibly that in the future, many things can be sold through live broadcast, not only fruits, vegetables, furniture, electrical appliances, handicrafts, daily necessities, etc., even gold jewelry, etc. can also rely on live broadcast. The fans and attention we accumulate now will become our wealth in the future." He seemed to understand. "I understand, that is to say, if our fruits and vegetables cannot be sold in the future, we can also sell them online. These current fans will be our future customers. In the future, our fruits and vegetables will be sold online, maybe sell it to them." Xiao Ningxun nodded. "You can say that." He was immediately full of energy. "Cousin, we haven't broadcast live for many days, why not live broadcast today? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible." Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 133. Xiao Ningxun said, "Okay, let's go." Last night she unlocked the 7th immortal spell, called Ignore. Ignore has many uses. It can erase memories for others, or it can erase memories for oneself. You can also use Ignore on items. For example, she can add Ignore instructions to several of the videos she uploads. If people in her village watch her videos, they won't think of Lao Qiao's family and her, which can slow down the time it takes for her identity to be revealed. If she wants others to know that it is her in the video in the future, all she has to do is remove the magic spell. Thinking about her, I cast magic spells on all the videos she uploaded. He followed his cousin and asked, "Cousin, what are we doing live broadcast this time?" Xiao Ningxun said, "It's still the same as last time. Let's take Xiaoha with us to find herbs first." He nodded, "Okay." So after the two of them and the dog arrived on the mountain, Xiao Ningxun opened the live broadcast room and pointed the camera at Xiaoha. "Hello, fellow water friends, I am Changsheng and Changsheng, and this is our protagonist today, Xiaoha. Xiaoha, come and say hello to everyone." Since Xiao Ningxun posted the process of handling the gourd on the internet, few people have questioned her for cheating, and she has gained many more fans. As soon as she opened the live broadcast room, the number of people exceeded 20,000 in less than a minute. "Ah, Xiaoha, I like this dog so much. Why does it have to be named like a husky when it is clearly a Tibetan Mastiff?" "That's right, Tibetan Mastiffs are so smart and huskies are so smart, how can the two kinds of dogs be connected?" When Xiaoha heard his name being called, he pretended to be happy and shouted twice, "Woof! Woof!" "Really, the live broadcast is on again. Forget it, considering that you are the new owner, I will reluctantly cooperate with you." Xiao Ningxun smiled and touched Xiaoha's head, "Be good, I'll make delicious food for you when you get back." "Woof, woof. Lying is like a puppy." Xiao Ningxun took the picture that he had prepared and put it in front of Xiaoha's eyes. "Xiaoha, come here, these are the names of the 5 herbs we are looking for today. You should remember them first. Woof. Okay, but 5 is too little, aren't you? Do you underestimate my dog's memory? Xiaohua remembered it in a short time. Qiaoningsun returned the phone to Huny, let's go find herbal medicine. Woof. Okay, let's go. The two of them and the dog were walking like this, with Qiaoningsun's camera always focused on Xiaoiche. Xiaohua didn't waste time and found the first one in a short while. Xiaohua is so smart that he actually found Fritillaria fritillary. This herb is very valuable. Am I the only one who wonders, what does the anchor do with so many herbs? I am also curious, can the host tell me something? Suddenly, several people sent gifts, as if they would continue to give gifts if Qiaoningsun didn't say anything. Qiaoningsun, of course I collect herbs for the purpose of making medicine. If my family has a headache or fever, I don't need to spend any money. The anchor actually has medical skills, that's amazing. There is nothing strange about this. It is normal for people in the mountains to know several kinds of medicinal herbs. What you said above is right. When I was a child, my family also liked to pick some medicine and prepare it themselves. If there was any problem, I would prepare the medicine myself. That anchor is pretty awesome, he actually knows so many herbal medicines. That dog is also quite powerful. Qiaoningsun ignored the barrage and still followed Xiaohua with her cousin. Half an hour later, they had found dozens of kilograms of the herbs they needed. Qiaoningsun touched Xiaohua's head and said, Xiaohua is really amazing. Xiaohua, woof. Of course, it doesn't matter what kind of dog I am. At this moment, there was a bang in the distance. The two people and the dog were all startled. What was the sound just now? Is there thunder going on over there at the anchor? It doesn't sound like the sound of thunder to me, it sounds like the sound of fireworks. But it's also daytime on the anchor's side, how can he shoot off cannons during the day? That sound is most likely the sound of explosives. Explosives? Could it be that someone on the anchor's side is using explosives to dig up mountains and build bridges and tunnels? Qiaoningsun and Huny looked at each other, also a little curious. As far as she knows, there are no tunnels or roads built on the mountain. This place is already considered a deep mountain, and most people will not come here. If she didn't have magical powers, she wouldn't dare to come here. It's just that if she was alone now, she might just pass. But there are still Huny and Xiaohua here, and she can't let them take risks with her. If it hurts her family in the future, it will be too late for her to regret it. She was about to leave the show and let her cousin take Xiaohua away. At this moment, she suddenly felt her palms warm. Turning her head to look at Huny, she could actually see his past and future. She set her sights on Xiaoiche again, and after a quick calculation, she could only count some fragments of Xiaohua's past, and he would always be by her side in the future, helping her. How is this going? Her spiritual power is enough for her to use it in metaphysics, but why can't all of Xiaohua's past be figured out? Huny saw his cousin frowning and asked in a low voice, Cousin, what's wrong? Qiaoningsun didn't answer for the time being. He calculated whether they were safe today, whether they would be in trouble in the future, whether they would be retaliated against in the future and affect their normal life. After getting a negative answer, he said, Nothing, let's go look at the situation. Seeing that Xiaohua was about to walk forward, Qiaoningsun pointed the camera at it and whispered, Xiaohua, walk slowly and don't make too much noise. Xiaohua turned his head and nodded. Some people who just entered the live broadcast room were extremely surprised. Go, this dog is really smart, he can even nod his head. Yeah, this is the first time I see a dog that nods. What is the anchor doing? Something feels wrong. Everyone, please be quiet. The anchor is currently in the mountains. He just heard the sound of explosives and is now going to find out. Explosives? Could it be that the anchor directed and acted on his own, Trying to make things mysterious. It is indeed possible. I have watched too many TV dramas. When mountains are mentioned, I think of some people who go to the mountains specifically to kill people and bury corpses. Stop talking upstairs, I'm a little scared. Xiao Ningxun ignored the barrage and walked quietly. After a while, Xiao Ha stopped, turned his head and looked at his master, and then looked ahead. Xiao Ningxun and He Yuanhui walked over and gently pushed aside the grass, and saw two groups of people appearing on the opposite side. Moreover, there was still smoke not far away from them. Thinking of the explosion just now, it is very likely that they were responsible for the movement just now. A man in black on the left said with an angry face, "Are you crazy or stupid? You dare to use explosives here? If the villagers down the mountain are recruited, wouldn't we be finished?" Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 134. A man in blue on the right said indifferently, "I think you are stupid. This is a deep mountain and old forest. Even if you hear a sound, who dares to come up? Even if someone comes up, there are so many of us, kill that person, just people." Man in black, "Forget it, I won't argue with you about this." The man in blue said, "Come here, blow it up again. This time you must blow up the exit for me." Those minions immediately went to make arrangements. The man in black did not stop him this time. A few minutes later, another explosion sounded. Xiao Ningxun quickly covered Xiao Ha's ears. "I am going to live broadcast the explosion. Does anyone still think that the anchor is directing and acting himself? That is, I am a law student, and if I use explosives privately, I shall be detained for not less than 10 days but not more than 15 days. If the circumstances are more serious, I shall be detained for not less than 5 days but not more than 10 days. I believe in the anchor." That said, "I believe it too." The man in black returned to the same place and waved his hand, "Go and see if there are any traces of the ancient tomb in the cave." Yes. A group of people gathered around the place where the explosion had just occurred and began to investigate. Ancient tomb? Did I hear that correctly? Upstairs, you heard it right, it's the ancient tomb. The man in blue walked to the two tied people next to him and said with a sinister expression, "Professor Zhou, Professor Yang, you'd better tell the entrance to the ancient tomb quickly, or I will let you and your colleagues all the same." They were cut into pieces together. The live broadcast room suddenly exploded. Xiao Ningxun immediately cast an ignore spell on the live broadcast room, so that the live broadcast room can only be accessed by people who have nothing to do with those people. Even if it is accessed, it will be closed soon. She also used the invisibility spell on both her cousin and Xiao Ha to ensure their safety. "Anchor, run away quickly, those are actually murderers, they look like they are still trying to rob graves. It's too dangerous and exciting. Although I really want to see the follow-up, host, you'd better run away. Yes, your dog will be in danger if you don't run away. Don't panic, everyone, these people have shown their faces in front of us. If the anchor is exposed, as long as she says she is live broadcast, these people will definitely have concerns." He Yuanhui also used his mobile phone to enter the live broadcast room. He was also very worried when he saw the barrage. "Cousin, why don't we run really fast?" Xiao Ningxun whispered, "Don't worry, they can't see us here. You quickly use your mobile phone to call the police. Those people are murderers, we can't let them escape." He Yuanhui had no choice but to do as his cousin said. Many people on the opposite side were digging into the ground with shovels, but the two people they threatened still looked like they would rather die than surrender. Seeing that Professor Zhou and Professor Yang were both silent, the man in black sneered and said, "Very good, quite brave. I want to see how long you can hold on. Someone, move their colleagues here." Yes. A group of minions immediately came over carrying several bags and opened them, allowing Professor Joe and Professor Yang to clearly see what was inside. Professor Joe collapsed immediately when he saw the scene in the bag and struggled violently. "Ah Zhen, Xiaoxiang, you died so miserably." Professor Yang also cried and said, "Ah Zhen, Xiaoxiang, you are really unlucky. You are only in your 20s and you died unexpectedly." The live broadcast room was in commotion again. Are the people there really dead? If it is true, it is simply too explosive. Just live broadcasting casually, and you have encountered such a dangerous thing. If I were there, I would definitely be so scared that I wet my pants. There are more and more barrages, and the live broadcast room is getting more and more popular, attracting a lot of people at once. The current number of viewers has actually reached 100,000. Qiao Ningxun was very happy in her heart. Fortunately, her spiritual power suddenly became enough and she could calculate that she and her family would not be in danger in the future. It is estimated that their accomplices are already here. Anchor, with so many people watching in the live broadcast room, there must be their accomplices inside. You'd better run away. That's right, if you are discovered, you will also be quartered. What are you anxious about? The anchor is not in a hurry. It must have been directed and acted by the anchor himself. I don't know why you just came in. Those people just used explosives. Do ordinary people dare to use explosives? The anchor definitely wouldn't dare. Aren't you afraid that the police would come to your door? Qiao Ningxun signaled He Yuanhui to open the call record of the call to the police just now and showed it to the people in the live broadcast room. I really called the police. What happened to me is true. Don't worry, I won't run away, I will record it and use it as evidence for the police uncles. It turns out to be true. If you are a real anchor, stop talking, I'm afraid you will die. That's right, it seems like you are still very close to them. There is action on the other side again. Professor Yang and Professor Zhou looked at each other and nodded decisively at the same time. Professor Yang said, "If you want to kill him. We will never reveal the entrance." Professor Zhou said, "Yes, we are not afraid of death. We will protect the property of China even to the death." The man in black sneered, "In that case, I'll show you some more. Come on, beat me to death." "Yes." The man next to him immediately picked up a whip and planned to whip someone. Just after they whipped a few times, they heard a sound coming from not far away. "I found the entrance, and this is indeed the entrance." The executioner had no choice but to stop. According to historical records, the tomb owners were buried with very rich gifts. As long as they completed this task, they could rest for a long time or even live abroad. The man in black came to the entrance, looked at several people and said, "Go in and see if it is really an ancient tomb." Yes. After a while, they came back. "Boss, there is indeed an ancient tomb inside. When you enter here, there is actually a gate, but we can't open it without professional tools." The man in black suddenly became excited. "Great, just find it. The tools are all at the bottom of the mountain. You can go get them up later." "Yes, it's just that these two people are useless now. Keeping them is also a hidden danger. Why not get rid of them?" The man in black nodded. "Now that the entrance has been found, there is no point in keeping them. Give them a knife each." "Yes." Immediately, two minions pulled out their knives and walked towards the two people who were tied up. At this time, the number of people in the live broadcast room has reached 200,000. The number of people in a live broadcast room that was launched for the second time was so large that it immediately attracted the attention of the top management of Dolphin Video. After taking a look inside, I discovered such an exciting scene. The senior management was in a meeting at this time. After hearing the report from his subordinates, he immediately ordered, "Close this live broadcast room, right now." Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jie Chen Chen. Chapter 135. Chapter 135 Saved. Leader, the traffic of the live broadcast room has been increasing, and our company is also in the development stage. Closing it at this time will be a huge loss for us. Yeah, she didn't broadcast any violent scenes anyway, so why not take a look at the situation again? We can even buy hot searches and promote them on Weibo, which will be almost as effective as usual advertising. Okay, you are right, then I will do what you said. After a while, hashtag encountered a tomb robber? Hashtag the topic became the first hot search topic. As expected, tens of thousands of people poured into Jiaoningsun's live broadcast room immediately, and the number of people entering was still increasing at a rate of several hundred people per second. Seeing that those two people might really be killed, the people in the live broadcast room suddenly panicked. Anchor, can you think of a way to help those two people? Isn't there a embarrassment anchor upstairs? There are only 2 anchors and 1 dog, and there are more than 10 people over there. If the anchor steps forward to save people, he will die. Anchor, for your safety, I think you should get off the air as soon as possible. If someone were killed in front of me, I would definitely be scared to death. Anchor, run quickly. Jiaoningsun didn't care what the barrage said, but he Yuanhui saw that the two were about to be killed, so he became anxious. Cousin, what should we do? Are they really going to die? Do we want to save them? Jiaoningsun didn't say anything, just looked straight at the two people. She must be saved, but she cannot tell her how. He Yuanhui became even more anxious when he saw that his cousin was silent. Professor Zhou and Professor Yang saw that they were really going to die soon, so they closed their eyes in despair. But the expected pain did not come. As soon as they opened their eyes, they saw that the person who wanted to stab them fell to the ground while holding their chest. Ah, my chest hurts so much. It's in my chest too, I feel like I can't breathe. Jiaoningsun sneered in his heart was controlled by the temperature control, and you will shed your skin even if you don't die. He Yuanhui was instantly happy, God has eyes. He Yuanhui's body trembled when he turned around and saw his cousin sneer. Cousin seems to be more terrifying than he imagined. The man in black frowned and said, you two are usually not sick or in pain, but now you are sick at the same time, how can you pretend to be for me? The man in blue said, I have long heard that there is a mole among us, and it seems that it is the two of them. Hearing this, the man in black picked up the knife on the ground and stabbed the two people on the ground respectively. It would be too easy for these evildoers to die like this. They must accept legal sanctions. Jiaoningsun immediately controlled the temperature of the man in black again. Just as the man in black's knife was about to hit the person on the ground, he also covered his chest, but with his amazing perseverance, he did not fall down. When the man in blue saw this, he frowned and asked, what's wrong? You must also have chest pain. The man in black nodded, covered his chest and glanced around, breathing quickly and said, there is really something evil here. My chest also hurts. I always feel like I am being stared at by many people, which is creepy. Is not that right? Being watched by more than 100,000 people. Upstairs, do you think there are only hundreds of thousands? Maybe there are many invisible people there. The man in blue said disdainfully, are you also one of their accomplices? After all that, you just don't want to kill them. Stop pretending. Your acting skills are really bad. There are still many people watching. We are the only ones here, and this is a cemetery, who can be there? The man in black said angrily, how could I be their accomplice? You are slandering. You saw the tomb and found it, so you want to keep the money. You are the one who is slandering me. I am your eldest brother. How could I slander you? Well, you also know that I am your brother, so I am even less likely to be the mole. You two, don't argue about this anymore. Take action quickly. We still have to go down the mountain to lift the tools in the car. If it gets too big and we attract other people over, even if we run away, we will be discovered by the authorities. Well, our trip was in vain. The man in blue calmed down immediately. Okay, I will listen to you. As for those two people, I will take action this time. After saying that, he also picked up the knife. It's just that the man in blue attacked faster this time. As soon as he picked up the knife, he felt severe pain in his legs and knees, and he knelt on the ground in an instant. The man in black frowned and asked, "Even if you want to apologize to me, don't do it so suddenly. I'm not ready yet." The man in blue looked at the entrance of the ancient tomb with a horrified expression. "Why are you apologizing? This place is really evil. My legs feel like they are broken. I can't bear the pain." When the other gangsters saw the two bosses acting like this, they immediately looked at each other. People in the live broadcast room looked at it with confused faces. What on earth is it? Why do I feel a little dramatic? Those who are sick are all spies? Could it be that the owner of the tomb really came out to cause trouble for them? It's very possible that if you blow up someone else's house, someone else will definitely come out to take revenge. There are ancient tombs here, and they also said that there was a lot of money. It is probably a wealthy family. In ancient times there must be people buried with the wealthy family. Maybe they felt that they were being watched just now, by those invisible ghosts with. Stop talking upstairs, I'm getting goosebumps. The man in black was covering his chest and his face was pale. However, he was an atheist and did not believe in ghosts. Otherwise, he would have died long ago. Today is a bit evil, so let's go back first. Anyway, we have found the entrance. Let's find the entrance to the cave, cover it up, and we'll come back next time. Good. At this moment, a powerful roar came from the distance. "Police, don't move, all hands up." Immediately afterwards, dozens of policemen appeared on the screen and controlled all the tomb robbers. Great, the police are finally here. The police arrived so promptly. I was even afraid that they would run away and that the anchor would die. The anchor is safe. Look, this can't be self-directed and self-acted. How much does it cost to have so many extras? That is. The grave robbers suddenly panicked when they saw the police. How could there be police here and come so quickly? When they saw that the police had guns, everyone was helpless and did not dare to resist. Professor Joe and Professor Yang suddenly cried with joy. They were finally saved. A young policeman came to the pile of bones. Because of the hot weather, the bones and meat were covered with maggots, which made him vomit immediately. Although the people in the live broadcast room didn't see it, they felt nauseous. When the police came, Jiaoningsun hid in another place and turned off the live broadcast. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 136. Chapter 136 Wu Ziawai. People in the live broadcast room wanted to know what would happen next, and they all left messages under the latest video on Jiaoningsun's account. The police are here. You don't still think it's self-directed and self-acted, right? It's illegal to pretend to be a police officer, and there is no need for the anchor to indemnify himself just to gain attention. What the person above said is right. If you still have doubts, you will know after waiting for the police report in a few days. But the anchor is really bold. Isn't he afraid that his accomplices will retaliate against her and her family? Yeah, if it were me, I wouldn't dare to do this. I will probably log out of my account and run away immediately. After all the tomb robbers were caught and carrying Jiaoningsun on their backs, she walked out with her cousin. Some police officers immediately pointed their guns at them. Who are you? The old policeman said quickly. put down the gun, there are only 2 children, don't scare them. When the others heard this, they had no choice but to put down their guns. The old policeman waved his hand, and the policeman blindfolded all the prisoners. The old policeman came to Jiaoningsun and He Yuan and asked with a serious face, "Which of you called the police just now?" He Yuan suddenly became nervous. Jiaoningsun smiled and said, "I asked my cousin to call the police. My mobile phone is broadcasting live." The police uncles came too quickly. She was just thinking about how to use magic to fool those people and delay time. What? The old policeman and other policemen's eyes almost popped out of their heads in shock. You just broadcast the whole thing live." Jiaoningsun nodded, "Yes, we came here to do a live broadcast. We heard the explosion, so we came here." The old policeman suddenly started to tremble with anger. You guys, you are so bold." Jiaoningsun said righteously, "I don't want to either, but they want to rob tombs and kill people. We can't just watch them steal the country's cultural relics, right? We can't just ignore them, right? Live broadcast their faces are exposed, so we can be safer." The old policeman choked suddenly. If he said this, he couldn't say anything. In short, the old policeman coughed lightly, "You are still children, and you are not allowed to do such dangerous things in the future. Do you understand?" Jiaoningsun said seriously, "Well, I understand. Next time we meet, I will be more careful and I promise not to worry you." The old policeman glared at her. "Next time you encounter something like this, first protect yourself and then call the police. Do you understand? Catching bad guys is not what you children should do." Jiaoningsun was not angry even after being stared at. He smiled and said, "Huh? Then next time I encounter this kind of thing, I won't save them." The old policeman glanced at Professor Zhou and Professor Yang and coughed lightly. "Anyway, the most important thing is for you to protect yourself. If you really encounter something like this next time, think about your parents first." "Well, it's just the police, uncle. Why did you come so fast this time?" "We have been keeping an eye on this gang for a long time and have received reports when you called the police. We were on our way over." "I see." The old police officer originally asked Jiaoningsun and He Yuan to go to the station to take notes, but they were unwilling to go, so they could only ask a few more questions on the spot before letting them go. When the rescued Professor Zhou saw that the police had finished asking questions, he quickly stepped forward and said, "Little girl, what's your name?" Jiaoningsun planned to do good deeds without leaving his name. "I didn't help either, so you don't need to thank me. I also, if you have something to do, don't delay." Professor Yang hurriedly said, "Little girl, this is a great life-saving grace. Moreover, you have saved the country's property, which is a great contribution. Both I and the country should be grateful to you." Jiaoningsun raised his eyebrows. Speaking of it this way, it is indeed true. These two are still professors and may be able to help her cousins and cousins in the future. More acquaintances mean more paths. She has already figured it out anyway, and her cousins' lives will not be in danger because of this incident in the future. Jiaoningsun smiled and said, "Okay, you are right." Professor Zhou said, "Why don't we add a contact information?" Professor Yang also looked at He Yuan and said, "There is also this young man. Let's add one more." He Yuan quickly looked at his cousin. Jiaoningsun nodded. The 4 of them quickly added WeChat. Professor Zhou said seriously, "We have been a little busy recently, so the time for formal thanks may be postponed." Professor Yang said, "Yes, but don't worry, when we are done, we will definitely come to thank you." Jiaoningsun glanced at the corpses and nodded understandingly, "It's okay, you are busy with your business." As he walked down the mountain, He Yuan looked at the messages under the video and said worriedly, "Cousin, are we really not going to be retaliated by their accomplices? The number of viewers of this live broadcast is hundreds of thousands, Nearly 1 million. I'm really a little scared. Jiaoningsun smiled and said, "Don't worry, nothing will happen. Moreover, it is impossible for the official to spread the live video this time. The police just told me that this video should not be edited and uploaded, even if it is recorded it doesn't matter, they want to block it on the entire network, and only people who have watched the live broadcast will know about it." He Yuanhui was still a little worried, but, cousin. Jiaoningsun knew that if she didn't say something, his cousin would live in fear every day. "Cousin, don't worry. I recently read a book about fortune telling. I just calculated that our family will have a smooth future and I won't have anything to do with this matter anymore. Instead, you should worry about yourself." He Yuanhui was stunned. A fortune-telling book? Could it be that among the ancient books that my cousin read before, there were fortune-telling books? He Yuanhui asked, "Worried about myself? Why?" Jiaoningsun suddenly stopped, counted his fingers, and frowned. "Cousin, your romance seems to be very prosperous this year. Many people in school have confessed to you, right?" He Yuanhui looked horrified and said, cousin, have you really figured it out?" "Of course," Jiaoningsun continued, "I have calculated that the people who have confessed to you include Bai Yi, Zheng Xuanjiao, Li Fangfang, and Wu Ziawai. It's just that you always wanted to drop out of school and work to help relieve the pressure on your family, and you didn't want to it delayed them, so they all refused. Later on, Wu Ziawai kept pestering you, and she was also your type, so you agreed to her and tried to get along with her. But I didn't expect that she knew that your parents didn't want you and just lived with my mother and grandparents, so she gradually stayed away from you. Even if you say hello to her on the street, she'll pretend she doesn't see you, right?" Cousin, He Yuanhui trembled and said, "Do you even know this? Did Guan Yiwen tell you?" End of this chapter. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen. Chapter 137. Seeing that he still didn't believe it, Jiaoningsun spread her hands helplessly. "No, I'm not someone who pries into people's privacy. If you still don't believe me, then we'll go back immediately. The Wu Ziawai from before was from the next village and knew about us. My family contracted the land and bought a shop, and now I have thoughts about you. I guarantee that the first woman you see after you come down from the mountain is her, and the first thing she says is, 'He Yuanhui, you're back.'" He Yuanhui could only frown and go down the mountain when he saw his cousin looking so confident. But the people he met along the way were all men, which made him feel more and more uneasy. When he walked to the door of his house, He Yuanhui suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. "Cousin, Guan Yiwen really told you those things about me. You see, they are completely different from what you said." After saying that, he saw that the door was not closed and was about to go in. Just a few steps into the yard, Wu Ziawai came out of the kitchen with a plate of grapes and said with a smile, "He Yuanhui, you are back." He Yuanhui immediately looked at Jiaoningsun in horror. She actually got it right. Wu Ziawai saw Jiaoningsun next to her, and her face immediately darkened. "Who is this person?" Jiaoningsun looked at his cousin proudly. "How is it?" "I was right, you should believe it now." He Yuanhui nodded as if pounding garlic. His cousin is really awesome. He suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Since my cousin said that what happened today will not affect their future lives, it certainly will not. Cousin's secret is really too powerful. Could it be that her secret is that there is divine help behind her? Seeing that He Yuanhui ignored her, Wu Ziawai stamped her feet dissatisfied and said softly, "He Yuanhui, you haven't answered my question yet. Who is she? Why is she in your home?" She was still secretly looking at He Yuanhui's clothes. At the end of last semester, she heard that He Yuanhui seemed to have gotten rich and his clothes were much better than before. At that time, She just thought that Huny had picked up clothes that were not wanted by relatives and wore them, and she did not look at them specifically. Now that she saw it in person, she was extremely satisfied. Huny's family is really rich, and they can buy brand name clothes and shoes. She saw her eldest brother and her parents clamoring for the shoes he was wearing at home. She heard they cost several hundred, but her parents were really reluctant to give them up. The eldest brother was angry with them for a long time. And now Huny's home is really beautiful. It has everything including a TV, sofa, etc. The kitchen even has an oven, and the bathroom has been remodeled very luxuriously. It is the most luxurious she has ever seen. She was extremely envious when she heard that Huny even had a computer now. One of her wishes is to have a computer of her own. Her family's conditions are not very good, and her parents favor sons over daughters. They felt that if she stayed in the countryside, she would never be able to contact the upper class in her life. The only condition for letting her go to the city to study is for her to find a rich husband. This way, even if the elder brother fails to study in the future, he can still marry a wife. Huny's family is so kind to him, so they should spend a lot of money on him in the future. Xiaoningsun snatched the grapes from her hand and held them in her arms. He raised his eyebrows and said, "Who am I and what does it have to do with you? Who are you from Huny? What qualifications do you have to act like the hostess in his house?" Question him. "These are Lao Jiao's grapes." "Why are you holding them?" Wu Ziyi's face froze and she said very uncomfortably, "I am Huny's girlfriend. If there are other women around him, of course I have to ask." Huny quickly distanced himself from the relationship. "Don't talk nonsense, I'm still underage, I don't have puppy love, and I don't have a girlfriend." Wu Ziyi said excitedly, "Didn't you promise me before that you would try to date me?" Huny said, "I didn't agree, I just said that we can be friends. It was you who knew from my classmates that my family background is not good. Every time you see me, you treat me as if you don't see me, and you even have other romantic partners, I have seen it many times." Wu Ziyi explained, "No, you misunderstood. I don't dislike your family background." "No," Huny said coldly, "you're here now, aren't you, just because you know about the changes in my family? Otherwise, where would you be for the whole month of July?" Wu Ziyi choked. When she knew that Huny had no father or mother, how could she possibly associate with him? She is beautiful and has a good figure. The days ahead with Huny will definitely be extremely miserable, and everyone will run away. At this moment, Chiao Kongsheng came over and said, "Huny, this girl said she was your girlfriend, so I let her in." In rural areas, it was normal for people to get married in their teens, so he had no doubts. On the contrary, he was very happy. If someone liked his grandson, he would not have to worry about not being able to find a wife in the future. You must know that there are dozens of bachelors in their 30s in the village now. Qiao Nianyi ran over to Xiaoningsun and looked at Wu Ziyi opposite with a face full of complaints. "Cousin, she ate the snacks you bought for me as soon as she came here. If I hadn't run fast, she would have eaten me. 3 pieces of chocolate. It's a pity that 2 pieces were eaten." Qiao Nianyi also complained, "Cousin, she ate the bag of potato chips you bought for me. She ate the whole bag. She also drank drinks. That is my favorite flavor. I originally wanted to keep it. She drank all the last ones." Xiaoningsun raised her eyebrows and said, "Are you here to find your boyfriend, or are you here to beg?" Wu Ziyi was said to be like this, as if she was really just here to beg for food. She felt extremely aggrieved and tears instantly flowed down her face. "Huny, I came here to see you. I was just sitting in the living room bored. When I saw there were snacks, so I ate them, but I didn't expect that you didn't want me and had another girlfriend." Her family was reluctant to buy snacks for her, and she couldn't help it when she saw those snacks. He Yuanhui frowned and said, "Don't talk nonsense. She is my cousin and the daughter of my second aunt." Wu Ziyuai raised her head suddenly and took a closer look at Jiao Xun. Sure enough, she looked somewhat similar to He Yuanhui. "It turns out to be my cousin. I misunderstood, cousin. I have offended you so much, please forgive me." Jiao Xun said calmly, "I can't talk about offending you. I'm not that petty. But since my cousin doesn't admit that you are his girlfriend, then please leave." Jiao Kongsheng glared at Wu Ziyuai, "You are not Yuanhui's girlfriend." He Yuanhuadeo said, "She is not. I will not fall in love prematurely. This person is just someone I know from school." He couldn't do it before, but now that he knows how capable his cousin is, he can't do it even more. He just wants to make money and study with his cousin now. The rewards from the live broadcast just now were enough for them to live for a year. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 138. Jiao Kongsheng said angrily, "You kid, since you are not, why are you pretending? Do you not pay attention to your own reputation? Leave our house quickly, and don't think of yourself as someone else's girlfriend in the future, otherwise you won't be able to get married. Don't rely on us then." Wu Ziyuai glanced at He Yuanhui with shame and anger. "Are you really going to be so cruel to me?" He Yuanhui said indifferently, "I didn't do anything. You brought this on yourself." Wu Ziyuai could only run away crying. Jiao Kongsheng shook his head helplessly. He also roughly guessed the reason why Wu Ziyuai came. Recently, the news that their family contracted fields, bought a car, and contracted a shop has probably spread to the surrounding villages. When you are poor in the busy city, you have no one to care about you, but when you are rich in the mountains, you have distant relatives. After lunch, Jiao Xun had just gone upstairs with his cousin, intending to check on his studies during this period, when he received a call from Jiao Shulan, saying that there was something going on in the shop. There was no other way, so she had no choice but to rush over with her cousin. When we arrived near Trader Joe's, it was the time for normal people to take a nap, so there was no one in the store. Just when he saw the three people sitting at the door, Jiao Xun's face suddenly darkened. "It's really haunting. Yuan Deshan did not work today and was sitting at the door of Jiao's fresh food with his mother and sister. I don't know what the three of them are holding back, but they are sitting at the door without causing any trouble." Jiao Xun walked over and said with an unhappy look on his face, "What are you doing here?" Jiao Shulan and the people working at Jiao's fresh food heard the sound and immediately walked out. Yuan Deshan smiled proudly when he saw Jiao Xun coming. Sure enough, she couldn't ignore Jiao Shulan. "Of course we have something to do here. There are many people here. Come with me and we can find a quiet place to talk." Jiao Shulan came to her daughter and explained quickly, "Ning Xun, I heard you call the police as soon as they came, but they came prepared and didn't make trouble when they came. They just sat at the door and just said they wanted to see you. The police came and saw that they didn't bother the guests, so they could only give them a warning." Jiao Xun ignored Yuan Deshan's words and asked, "Can they influence customers?" Jiao Shulan shook her head, "No." Jiao Xun raised his eyebrows. It seemed that he was indeed smart. Yuan Deshan saw Jiao Xun ignoring him and frowned. "I'm talking to you, did you hear it or not?" "Of course I heard it, I'm not deaf." Jiao Xun rolled her eyes at him. "I just don't want to pay attention to you." Yuan Deshan suddenly became furious and wanted to hit her. "I just saw that the person next to me looked like he was about to call the police again, so I could only put down my hand." Jiao Xun said, "My mother has divorced you, and you have left me to my mother. If you have anything to say, just tell me here. I don't want to leave with you." Seeing the excitement here, the people around them stood not far away and looked at the situation here. Li Shuya frowned and said, "Jiao Xun, is this how you talk to your biological father? Biological father, Chiao Ningsun said with a smile, don't you feel guilty when you say this? He had never been able to give birth to a child before. I was just the one. My mother borrowed someone else's sperm for in vitro fertilization. The person's expression suddenly changed. The spectators immediately looked at Yuan Deshan meaningfully. It turns out he can't give birth to a child. Xiao Shulan didn't expect her daughter to know her life experience, and said with some embarrassment, Ning Xuan, you actually know everything? When did you know it? Xiao Ningxun glanced at the onlookers and said loudly, last time I was hospitalized due to a car accident and the medical expenses were not enough. You made many calls to this man who claimed to be my biological father but didn't answer. You asked my fourth uncle to borrow money. Just when I paid the hospitalization fee. Some passers-by with a strong sense of justice couldn't help it. It seems like this person doesn't regard this child as his daughter at all. That is, if you really regard her as your biological daughter, why would you not pay her hospital fees? This family looks very mean, and it turns out it's really out of their hearts. They are not good people. Let me tell you, her mother was too kind back then. If a man can't have children, she should divorce him. How dare he? If her mother tells her that she can't have children after the divorce, he won't be able to find a wife. He will definitely try his best to deceive her mother. Yes, men, they are the best at talking sweetly when they think you are useful. Li Shiyu, mother and son suddenly felt extremely uncomfortable. Xiao Ningxun actually knew that she was not a child of the Yuan family, so she would have another excuse for them to ask her for money in the future. Li Shiyu rolled his eyes several times and said, you kid, why are you talking about your family's affairs to the outside world? Let's go. Grandma hasn't seen you for a long time. She will take you to buy clothes. Xiao Ningxun flatly refused, no, I have lived in the Yuan family for 16 years, and you haven't even spent $1 on me. During those years in the Yuan family, I suffered countless abuses in your family. I don't believe them. After the divorce, you will have a conscience. If you want to spend money on me suddenly, just say it. If you don't, just leave. We don't welcome you here. Seeing that Jiaoning's smoke oil and salt were not coming in, Li Shia glanced at Yuan Deshan. Yuan Deshan nodded, suddenly covering his chest, and said, I checked a few days ago and found out that I have a heart disease. The doctor said it would take 2 million to cure it. I heard that your family has contracted the land and opened a fruit shop. There must be money there, and I just want you to give me money for medical treatment. Xiao Ningxun snorted, I don't have any money, but you are so cruel that you didn't hesitate to curse yourself just to get money. Xiao Shulan, who was secretly scolding Yuan Deshan for what he deserved, was stunned, and said, Ningxun, do you mean to say that he is pretending? Yuan Deshan's heart skipped a beat. Damn girl, how did she know he was faking? Xiao Ningxun nodded, yes, he is not sick at all. He just owed money to others and never paid it back. He was going to court. He had no choice but to sell the house and pay back the money. But because he saw something he shouldn't have seen, so his cell phone was poisoned and he accidentally lost all his money. He is now living at his parents' house, and his new love wants him to buy another house, so when he saw that your ex-wife opened a fruit shop and contracted the land at home, he couldn't bear it. I need money to live here. Yuan Deshan's forehead was suddenly covered with sweat. The onlookers all looked at Yuan Deshan's family of 3 with disdain. You are so disgusting. After your divorce, you still ask your ex-wife for money to buy a house for your new love. Did your ex-wife dig up your family's ancestral graves? That's it. How painful it is to do IVF. Your ex-wife knows that you can't have children, so you have done your best without kicking her. If you are divorced and you still come to ask for money, why don't you go to heaven? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Ching Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 139. Chapter 139 Precognitive Dream. A grown man brings the elderly at home to defraud money. He is really thick-skinned. No wonder he can't give birth to a child, no wonder he's so unlucky. This is all his retribution. Everyone recorded all their ugly faces and posted them online for everyone to see. Yuan Deshan and others saw that the onlookers all took out their mobile phones and hurriedly covered their faces and left. It would be really embarrassing for people to know that he could not have children before. The three of them ran into an alley and saw that no one was chasing them. They suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, but their breathing was still short. Yuan Deshan gritted his teeth and said, "Qiaoningsun actually knows that I am not her biological father. If I ask her for money in the future, she will definitely not give it to me again." Li Shuyu didn't expect something unexpected to happen today. There is indeed something bad. Yuan Deli didn't think the matter was that serious. I've seen the news. My eldest brother is considered Qiaoningsun's adoptive father. He raised her from a young age, just like his biological father. If he asks her for alimony, that's for sure yes, the court also supports it. Yuan Deshan said, but the problem is that Qiaoningsun is still a minor. Even if I sue her, it will be useless. If outsiders know that I, a man with hands and feet, actually found an underage daughter who cannot make money. If you want money, you can't make people laugh to death. Li Shuyu said, we are not looking for Qiaoningsun, we will continue to look for Qiao Shulan. It's useless. Yuan Deshan picked his scalp depressedly. If we go too far, she will call the police, and then we will only go to jail. Li Shuyu choked. It was true, she didn't want to go to jail. For a time, none of the three could think of a way to get money, so they could only sigh. Yuan Deli said, if it really doesn't work, just wait a few years. When she starts working, brother, you can ask her for alimony. Yuan Deshan sighed, this is the only thing we can do for the time being. Qiaoningsun thanked those who spoke uprightly and turned around and said, Mom, if you encounter this kind of situation again in the future, you should contact me as soon as possible and don't confront them head on. Qiao Shulan nodded and asked curiously, Ningsun, is it true that Yuan Deshan has been defrauded of all his money? Is what you just said true? It's indeed true. Qiaoningsun thought about Yuan Deshan's future that she had just calculated and said with a smile, don't worry, he won't have time to come here to make trouble in the future. He Yuan Hua's eyes lit up. Could it be that his cousin had calculated something else? Qiao Shulan didn't think much after hearing this, thinking that after Yuan Deshan's child was born, his family would have no money again, and he would be working hard to make a living. 2 hours later, Qiaoningsun returned to Daguo village. She asked He Yuan Hui to continue reading, while she sat at the door and began to test her fortune-telling ability. She had counted several times today, so Qiaoningsun sat at the door and counted 2 people passing by, and she felt extremely tired. In order to verify her conjecture, she spent the next few days at the door, quietly telling fortunes to the villagers. A few days later, she finally found a pattern. Her current spiritual power is not quite enough. If only 3 people are counted, it will not affect her normal life. Go to bed at 8 o'clock and go to practice after 12 o'clock. Then come back at 4 o'clock in the morning and sleep until 6 o'clock. You will still be energetic during the day. But if there are more than 3 a day, you can still persist before 8 o'clock, but after 8 o'clock, people will be particularly sleepy and fall asleep as soon as they hit the bed. Although she can wake up at 12 o'clock in the evening to practice, she will still be very sleepy even if she does nothing the next day. She is still a student. In order not to affect her classes in the future, even if she wants to make a living by telling fortunes in the future, she cannot do more than 3 fortune tellings a day. If you count 5 or 6 times in a row, you will soon become tired and must sleep, otherwise it will affect your normal life and health. She also tried to figure out where Jiao Shuking went. But her fortune-telling still has limitations. Between blood-related relatives, she cannot calculate everything. She can only calculate some fragments, just like in a movie. At present, she only knows that Jiao Shuking was not trafficked, but she left on her own, and she left willingly. She is still alive now, but her life is not very good. But the specific location could not be determined yet, so she could not take her family there to look for her. However, it is good news that no one has been trafficked. August 18th. As soon as 10 o'clock arrived, He Yunhui came to Jiao Ningxun's room with his mobile phone and said, "Cousin, look, the police have issued a report, saying that the tomb robbers that day were a group of people who had been arrested before and had slipped through the net. They have all been caught. Each of them has a lot of lives on their hands, especially the people of the archaeological team. Several people died in their hands. Someone who knows the law said on the internet that based on their crimes, 100%. 99 times he will be shot, and he will never come out to harm anyone again in this life." Jiao Ningxun raised his eyebrows and said, "Look, I was right." Well, He Yunhui stood in front of his cousin like a puppy with bright eyes, and asked, "Cousin, since you can tell fortunes, why not take a look at my future?" Jiao Ningxun smiled and said, "You belong to the people who are related to me. You can calculate the recent things, but you can't calculate the specific things if you are too far away, but you can calculate the important things. For example, you will pass the exam smoothly in the future. Go to college and get a good job." She has already done all these things in the past few days. He Yunhui immediately felt relieved. It would be great if he could get into college. Suddenly thinking of something, He Yunhui asked again, "Then can you calculate what will happen to me today? I had a dream last night that I fell into the river and couldn't climb up, and then I was killed. I woke up with a fright." Jiao Ningxun frowned, thinking about his early death in his previous life. That was a long time later, wouldn't it be earlier now? And He Yunhui didn't die in the water in his previous life? Just in case, she could only let He Yunhui figure it out. Seeing his cousin's face getting more serious, He Yunhui's heart skipped a beat. Could he be in trouble today? Jiao Ningxun frowned and said, "Cousin, your dream does have some omens. Don't go near the water today." He Yunhui nodded, "Well, I listen to you. I will study at home today." After He Yunhui left his room, Jiao Ningxun opened the space manual and flipped through hundreds of pages before he finally had the answer in his heart. It seems that the increase in her spiritual power has also affected her cousin, so that he can also have precognitive dreams. The space instructions also say that there is no need to intervene on the affected people. For people who are not destined to the space, even if they are affected, having precognitive dreams is already their limit. And after a period of separation, ordinary people will return to normal. School is about to start in more than 10 days, and I don't know if she can unlock some magical formulas that can help her practice in the past few days. End of this chapter. Back before I became a vegetative state, I became an immortal and invincible. Author, Qing Jue Chen Chen. Chapter 140. Chapter 140, Fighting with Death. From now on, if she lives in school, she will only go home once a week and can only practice for 2 or 3 nights, which will have a great impact on her progress. How about she just go to school as a day student? However, she travels between Daguo village and school every day. She has a speed magic formula that allows her to go back and forth quickly. But if she goes home too quickly or arrives at school right after leaving home, there is no guarantee that her secret will not be exposed. While she was thinking about how to go to school in the future, she inadvertently glanced outside the window and saw He Yunhui running out again. Thinking of what she had calculated before, for the sake of He Yunhui's personal safety, she could only go downstairs and follow him out. Not long after, He Yuan arrived at the foot of the mountain. Chiao Ningxun didn't go there for the time being, just hiding in the dark. Wu Zaiwei saw He Yuan coming and stepped forward excitedly. He Yuan, I knew you would come over. You still have me in your heart, right? He Yuan said impatiently, I don't have you in my heart. I just don't want to continue to be entangled with you. I come here for the last time today to make it clear to you that there will never be anything between us. Wu Zaiwei's eyes suddenly turned red. He Yuan, I really like you, can't we give it a try? No, He Yuan said seriously, we are all students now, and the first important thing is to study. Before I am admitted to university, I will not let anything other than study affect me, and neither can you. And it is impossible for him to marry someone who has disliked him. Wu Zaiwei could do it for the first time. If their family fell into trouble for some reason in the future, she would definitely stay away from him as soon as possible. Wu Zaiwei was immediately embarrassed. He Yuan, do you really have no feelings for me at all? No. You, Wu Zaiwei glanced at the lake not far away and gritted her teeth, since you don't like me, my life has no meaning anymore. I might as well die. After saying that, she ran to the lake and jumped in without thinking. He Yuan came to the lake and was about to jump off, but thinking about what his cousin said today and the dream he had last night, he hesitated. Seeing a bamboo pole next to him, he quickly went over and took it in his hand, then came back and stretched out his hand to Wu Zaiwei, you grab it and I'll save you. Out of instinctive survival reaction, Wu Zaiwei struggled violently as soon as she touched the water, shouting, help, help. Seeing the bamboo pole in front of her, she instinctively grabbed it. But thinking of this, He Yuan couldn't force him to embrace it, so he forced himself to let go of the bamboo pole again. But she gradually lost strength, and she slowly sank. He Yuan had no choice but to jump into the water. There was no way he could just watch people drown. But before he could swim to Wu Zaiwei's side, his legs suddenly cramped, and he began to sink. What happened? What my cousin said was true, and his dream was also true. He is not going to die here today, right? He was extremely excited when he saw the purple figure coming from a distance. Cousin is indeed his god. At this moment, some people passing by also discovered the situation here. Chiao Ningxun said to the man, you go and save that woman, and I'll save my cousin. Okay. Chiao Ningxun quickly threw the rope in his hand, put it around He Yuan's neck, then pulled the person over, then stepped forward and quickly untied the rope around his neck, and pulled him up shore. Thank you, cousin. He Yuan turned around and breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that the man had rescued Wu Zaiwei and walked back. Chiao Ningxun poked his cousin's head with a look of hatred, are you stupid? I told you not to go near the water today, but you still dare to come here. Do you think your life is too long? If I hadn't noticed you running out, you would have been here today. He Yuan glanced angrily at Wu Zaiwei, who had been rescued ashore, and said with an aggrieved face, I was not at the water's edge just now. Wu Zaiwei suddenly jumped into the river. I had no choice but to go into the water to save her. I can swim. If I didn't accident, I'll be fine, but maybe I didn't warm up and my legs suddenly cramped. Chiao Ningxun, if you don't come over, can she threaten you with death? He Yuan lowered his head, cousin, I was wrong. I just wanted to make it clear to her in the end, but I didn't expect that she was so insidious and actually set me up. Chiao Ningxun. As expected, my cousin still lacks the beatings from society. Wu Zaiwei spit out a large mouthful of water after landing on the shore. The person who rescued her touched her neck and frowned, Wu Zaiwei, I rescued you with good intentions, but you scratched the skin on my neck. There are so many dirty things in the water, I don't know if it will cause infection. You have to compensate me. Wu Zaiwei, who had water in her head, was still a little confused. As soon as she heard the money, She immediately came to her senses. After seeing the person in front of her clearly, she frowned and said, "Lee Junchen, why are you here?" Lee Junchen snorted, "I was following you, but I didn't expect that you would come to someone else to confess your love. Is it because of that man that you rejected me?" Although Wu Ziawai's family is very poor, she is indeed beautiful. She is from the same village as him and grew up with him. He likes her very much. But Wu Ziawai has been high-spirited since she was a child and looks down on him. She wants to marry a rich man and live a good life. Wu Ziawai glanced at He Yuanhui and saw that he was soaked all over, with no trace of guilt on his face. Knowing that today's visit was in vain, he could only get up and leave angrily. Chiao Ningxun suddenly stopped in front of Wu Ziawai, "Apologize to my cousin." Wu Ziawai was stunned, "Why should I apologize?" Chiao Ningxun said, "If you hadn't made an appointment with my cousin, could my cousin have come over? If it hadn't been to save you, could my cousin have gone into the water to save you from a leg cramp and almost drowning?" Wu Ziawai choked, "What will happen to you if I don't apologize?" Chiao Ningxun said slowly, "Then I will spread the news to your school that you jumped into the water after being rejected by my cousin and almost killed him." Wu Ziawai frowned, "You have no evidence, so I can say that you wrongly accused me." Chiao Ningxun opened the video on her phone and played it in front of her. Wu Ziawai's face turned paler the more she looked at it. What she just said to He Yuanhui was actually recorded. Wu Ziawai instinctively wanted to grab the phone, but Chiao Ningxun didn't let her succeed, and missed her hand as soon as she turned around. Wu Ziawai screamed in collapse, delete it all. If this spreads to school, she will be finished." Chiao Ningxun said, "If you apologize now, and if you will be honest and stop harassing my cousin in the future, then I guarantee that no one will see this video, but if you harass him again, he will not be able to concentrate study, then I won't be polite." Wu Ziawai's face turned pale, she glanced at He Yuanhui and Chiao Ningxun resentfully, and could only say reluctantly, "I'm sorry, He Yuanhui, it's me who has caused trouble for you today, and I won't pester you again in the future." End of this chapter.